Okay. Hi, guys. It's time to read. Okay, let's switch it up. We're going to do something a little less intense. Because this one seems to flow pretty well. Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. I'm going to snooze the ad that's trying to come through because we just got here. It's been 5 minutes. Like, give us a second. Damn. I don't have a drink today, so I brought out my leftover Halloween candy. Ha 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 ha. Some edibles that I need to eat. So we're gonna do that. I have a little peanut butter cup that's like 10 milligrams. Of course, I already went outside and smoked a doink, but that's not enough. It's like, that's like 5 minutes. We got me. Woo! The brand for these peanut butter cups is called Honu, and it's like a Hawaiian brand. Really, really cute packaging. Delicious stuff. Like, they have s'mores too. It's good. It's good stuff. Down the hatch. Can you explain those words? Yes, I can. So, my joke about leftover Halloween candy. This dish specifically is left over from a Halloween party I had last year. This last year. Where this dish actually was the dish that I was giving out little edibles for people at my party. So, that's a part of the joke. And they're edibles with cannabis in them. So it's not actually like Halloween candy. They're edibles. So that was kind of the joke. There would be like a lot of context that anyone would need, I think, for that. So thank you for asking. I have like this was basically my leftover, all of my edibles that I've had. I've just been putting them here and eating them, and now I'm getting down to the last bits. We're almost out. Just for clarification, I use cannabis medicinally because I have such a high level of pain. So part of the reason why I have to take so much is because I just have such a high tolerance now. So it feels excessive. But for me to like achieve the appropriate level of high and also pain relief that other people get from smaller amounts, I have to eat quite a bit. And I work at a dispensary, so I get a lot of edibles. These ones that I'm eating now are kiwi flavored. They're sativa, and they have THC and then THCV. And they're the wild brand. They're really good. How's the volume on the music? Is it too loud? Because it's really hard since I'm not able to hear my own voice anymore. I can't really like read the same levels. I mean, y'all, technology's weird. There was a period in time where I could always hear myself in my headphones. Awesome. I could always hear myself in my headphones, so I had to like learn to ignore that. But I also, in a way, it was helpful because I would use it to gauge what you guys were hearing. So That just like stopped after using my soundboard for like months. I don't know why. So I'm a little more dependent on y'all to tell me if something's a little off. I can see obviously my audio levels, but I have to like, you know. Okay, well, I'm yapping a lot today, so let me get the rest of these bad boys down and then we'll start reading. To recap a little bit, the last thing that we were talking about, basically, we got the backstory of everything. Frickin' Buttercup was a bitch, and then she became not a bitch. Found out the farm boy that she'd been mean to her whole life loved her, and she loved him. He dies. She gets mega hella depressed. Chooses to never love someone again. Gets jaded as hell. We then get introduced to the prince character, who is awful. And is a psycho animal hunter. And he also has a massive ego and has issues. So he like needs a wife so that he can appear cooler to the general public. And then because the count and the countess had visited Buttercup on the farm that she lived on, the count recommended Buttercup, and the prince was like, you have to marry me. And she was like, fucking just kill me. And he was like, you really would rather die? And she was like, I guess not. And then that was it. And so we didn't get to go on past that. So I've been waiting for this one. I've been ready to talk about or read this all week. That's Julie's recap. Hope that made sense. Okay. Cherry Cola, let's go. I just drooled on myself. Oh god. Okay. Also, we have Fern here with us. Perfect recap. Fernie is napping right there. His eyes are open, but we're going to pretend he's asleep. Okay. Who's ready? Do you guys like my Sunny? I'm so excited about this. And then he fits right in. Boop. Okay. All right. Let's get it together. All right. Okay, so we really did read all the way through chapter 3, and now we're at chapter 4. Oh, I guess in this version, she literally, like... What? Oh my god, in this version, they literally just skipped the 4th chapter. It's... So the version I bought accidentally has, like, all these notes from the author, which is why I had to skip through all that shit in the beginning. And... So we go to try to move to chapter 4, okay? And it says... 4, the preparations, and then it shows the notes. It says, I didn't even know this chapter existed until I began the good parts version. All my father used to say at this point was, what with one thing and another, 3 years passed, and then he'd explain how the day came when Buttercup was officially introduced to the world as the coming queen, and how the great square of Florin City was filled as never before, awaiting her introduction, and by then, he was into the terrific business dealing with the kidnapping. And then it says, would you believe that in the original Morgenstern, this is the longest single chapter in the book? 15 pages about how Humperdinck can't marry a common subject, So they fight and argue with the nobles and finally make Buttercup Princess of Hammersmith, which was this little lump of land attached to the rear of King Lothron's holdings. Then the Miracle Man began improving King Lothron, and 18 pages are used up in describing the cures. What? Morgenstern hated doctors and was always bitter when they outlawed miracle men from working in Florin proper. In 72, count 'em, 72 pages on the training of a princess. He follows Buttercup day to day, month to month, as she learns all the ways of curtsying and tea pouring and how to address visiting nabobs and that, all in this satiric vein naturally, since Morgenstern hated royalty more even than doctors. But from a narrative point of view, in 105 pages, nothing happens. Except this. What with one thing and another, 3 years pass. And then it just skips to chapter 5. Okay. All right. Let me start with chapter 5 then. The announcement, which I think it still takes us through stuff, but my brain is kind of like, huh? Okay. 5. The announcement. The great square of Florin City was filled as never before, awaiting the introduction of Prince Humperdinck's bride-to-be, Princess Buttercup of Hammersmith. The crowd had begun forming some 40 hours earlier, but up to 24 hours before, there were still fewer than 1,000. But then, as the moment of introduction grew nearer, from across the country the people came. Oops. None had ever seen the princess, but rumors of her beauty were continual, and each was less possible than the one before. At noontime, Prince Humperdinck appeared at the balcony of his father's castle and raised his arms. The crowd, which by now was at the danger size, slowly quieted. There were stories that the king was dying, that he was already dead, that he had been dead long since, that he was fine. My people, my beloveds, from whom we draw our strength, today is a day of greeting. As you must have heard, my honored father's health is not what it once was. He is, of course, 97, so who can ask for more? As you know, Florin needs a male heir. The crowd began to stir now. It was to be this lady they had heard so much about. In 3 months, our country celebrates its 500th anniversary. To celebrate that celebration, I shall, on that sundown, take for my wife the Princess Buttercup of Hammersmith. You do not know her yet, but you will meet her now. And he made a sweeping gesture, and the balcony door swung open, and Buttercup moved out beside him on the balcony. And the crowd, quite literally, gasped. The 21-year-old princess far surpassed the 18-year-old mourner. Her figure faults were gone, the too bony elbow having fleshed out nicely. The opposite pudgy wrist could not have been trimmer. Her hair, which was once the color of autumn, was still the color of autumn, except that before, she had tended it herself, whereas now she had 5 full-time hairdressers who managed things for her. This was long after hairdressers, in truth. Ever since there have been women, there have been hairdressers. Adam being the first, though the King James scholars do their best to muddy this point. Her skin was still wintry cream, but now, with 2 handmaidens assigned to each appendage, and 4 for the rest of her, it actually, in certain lights, seemed to prove her with a gentle, continually moving, as she moved, glow. Prince Humperdinck took her hand and held it high, and the crowd cheered. That's enough. Mustn't risk overexposure, the prince said, and he started back in towards the castle. They've waited, some of them, so long, Buttercup answered. I would like to walk among them. We do not walk among commoners unless it is unavoidable, the prince said. I have known more than a few commoners in my time, Buttercup told him. They will not, I think, harm me. And with that she left the balcony, reappeared a moment later on the great steps of the castle and, quite alone, walked open-armed down into the crowd. Wherever she went, the people parted. She crossed and recrossed the great square, and always, ahead of her, the people swept apart to let her pass. Buttercup continued, moving slowly and smiling alone like some land messiah. Most of the people there would never forget that day. None of them, of course, had ever been so close to perfection, and the great majority adored her instantly. There were, to be sure, some who, while admitting she was pleasing enough, were withholding judgment as to her quality as a queen. And of course, there were some more who were frankly jealous. Very few of them hated her, and only 3 of them were planning to murder her. What? Buttercup naturally knew none of this. She was smiling, and when people wanted to touch her gown, well, let them. And when they wanted to brush their skin against hers, well, let them do that too. She had studied hard to do things royally, and she wanted very much to succeed. So she kept her posture erect and her smile gentle, and that her death was so close would only made her laugh if someone had told her. But in the farthest corner of the great square, in the highest building in the land, deep in the deepest shadow, the man in black stood waiting. His boots were black and leather. His pants were black and his shirt. His mask was black, blacker than raven, but blackest of all were his flashing eyes, flashing and cruel and deadly. I think you're right. The Good Parts version is the only version. The longer unabridged version is metafictional, as in it doesn't actually exist. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Thanks, Wayne. I appreciate that. Okay. Buttercup was more than a little weary after her triumph. The touching of the crowds had exhausted her, so she rested a bit, and then, toward mid-afternoon, she changed into her riding clothes and went to fetch horse. This was the one aspect of her life that had not changed in the years preceding. She still loved to ride, and every afternoon, weather permitting or not, she rode alone for several hours in the wild land beyond the castle. She did her best thinking then. Not that her best thinking ever expanded horizons. Still, she told herself, she was not a dummy either, so as long as she kept her thoughts to herself, well, where was the harm? Oh, yeah, I know, I'm sorry. I don't realize that it's happening. I can start doing that, though. We can do like a BRB or just do like a chat and watch a little bit more. So, yeah, I can definitely do that. We still have like 19 seconds. So let me wait, and then I'll move back to the beginning of that where I was reading. Okay. Heard your note. I'm going to start over from where I was reading so that you guys get the... So, Buttercup was more than a little weary after her triumph. The touching of the crowds had exhausted her, so she rested a bit, and then, toward mid-afternoon, she changed into her riding clothes and went to fetch horse. This was the one aspect of her life that had not changed in the years preceding. She still loved to ride, and every afternoon, weather permitting or not, she rode alone for several hours in the wild land beyond the castle. She did her best thinking then. Not that her best thinking was ever expanded horizons. Still, she told herself, she was not a dummy either, so as long as she kept her thoughts to herself, well, where was the harm? As she rode through the woods and streams and heather, her brain was a whirl. The walk through the crowds had moved her, and in a way most strange. For even though she had done nothing for 3 years now but trained to be a princess and a queen, today was the first day she actually understood that it was all soon to be a reality. And I just don't like Humperdinck, she thought. It's not that I hate him or anything. I just never see him. He's always off someplace or playing in the zoo of death, which is a crazy thing about this guy. To Buttercup's way of thinking, there were 2 main problems. Was it wrong to marry without like? And 2, if it was it too late to do anything about it? The answers to her way of thinking as she rode along were 1, no, and 2, yes. It wasn't wrong to marry someone you didn't like. It just wasn't right either. If the whole world did it, that wouldn't be so great. With everybody kind of grunting at everybody else as the years went by. But, of course, not everybody did it. So forget about that. The answer to 2 was even easier. She had given her word she would marry. That would have to be enough. True, he had told her quite honestly that if she said no, he would have to have her disposed of in order to keep respect for the crown at its proper level. Still, she could have, had she chosen, said no. Everyone had told her since she became a princess in training that she was very likely the most beautiful woman in the world. Now she was going to be the richest and most powerful as well. Don't expect too much from life, Buttercup told herself as she rode along. Learn to be satisfied with what you have. Dusk was closing in when Buttercup crested the hill. She was perhaps half an hour from the castle, and her daily ride was 3/4 done. Suddenly she reined horse, for standing in the dimness beyond was the strangest trio she had ever seen. The man in the front was dark, Sicilian perhaps, with the gentlest face, almost angelic. He had one leg too short and the makings of a humpback, but he moved forward toward her with surprising speed and nimbleness. The other 2 remained rooted. The second, also dark, probably Spanish, was as erect and slender as a blade of steel that was attached to his side. The third man, mustachioed, perhaps a Turk, was easily the biggest human being she'd ever seen. A word, the Sicilian said, raising his arms. His smile was more angelic than his face. Buttercup halted. Speak. We are but poor circus performers, the Sicilian explained. It is dark and we are lost. We were told there was a village nearby that might enjoy our skills. You were misinformed, Buttercup told him. There is none, not for many miles. Then there will be no one to hear you scream, the Sicilian said, and he jumped with frightening agility toward her face. That was all Buttercup remembered. Perhaps she did scream, but if she did, it was more from terror than anything else, because certainly there was no pain. His hands expertly touched places on her neck, and unconsciousness came. She awoke to the lapping of water. She was wrapped in a blanket, and the giant Turk was putting her in the bottom of a boat. For a moment she was about to talk, but then when they began talking, she thought it better to listen. And after she had listened for a moment, it got harder and harder to hear, because of the terrible pounding of her heart. I think you should kill her now, the Turk said. The less you think, the happier I'll be, the Sicilian answered. There was the sound of ripping cloth. What is that? The Spaniard asked. The same as I attached to her saddle, the Sicilian replied. Fabric from the uniform of an officer of Gilder. I still think, the Turk began. She must be found dead on the Gilder frontier, or we will not be paid the remainder of our fee. Is that clear enough for you? I just feel better when I know what's going on, that's all, the Turk mumbled. People are always thinking I'm so stupid because I'm big and strong, and sometimes drool a little when I get excited. The reason people think you're so stupid, the Sicilian said, is because you are so stupid. It has nothing to do with your drooling. There came the sound of a flapping of sail. Watch your heads, the Spaniard cautioned, and then the boat was moving. The people of Florin will not take her death well, I shouldn't think. She has become beloved. There will be war, the Sicilian agreed. We have been paid to start it. It's a fine line of work to be expert in. If we do this perfectly, there will be a continual demand for our services. Well, I don't like it much at all, the Spaniard said. Frankly, I wish you'd refused. The offer was too high. I don't like killing a girl, the Spaniard said. God does it all the time. If it doesn't bother him, don't let it worry you. Jesus. Through all this, Buttercup had not moved. The Spaniard said, let's just tell her we're taking her away for ransom. The Turk agreed. She's so beautiful, and she'd go all crazy if she knew. She knows already, the Sicilian said. She's been awake for every word of this. Oh my God. Buttercup lay under the blanket, not moving. How could he have known that, she wondered. How can you be sure? The Spaniard asked. The Sicilian senses all, the Sicilian said. Conceited, Buttercup thought. Yes, very conceited, the Sicilian said. He must be a mind reader, Buttercup thought. Are you giving it full sail? The Sicilian said. As much as is safe, the Spaniard answered from the tiller. We have an hour on them, so no risks yet. It will take her horse perhaps 27 minutes to reach the castle, a few minutes more for them to figure out what happened, and since we left an obvious trail, they should be after us within an hour. We should reach the cliffs in 15 minutes more, and, with any luck at all, the Gilder frontier at dawn when she dies. Her body should be quite warm when the prince reaches her mutilated form. I only wish we could stay for his grief. It should be Homeric. Why does he let me know his plans? Buttercup wondered. You are going back to sleep now, my lady, the Spaniard said, and his fingers suddenly were touching her temple, her shoulder, her neck, and she was unconscious again. Uh-oh. I'm gonna take a sip real quick. Thank you so much, you guys, for being here. I'm so excited. This is so fun. It's about to get crazy. All right. Buttercup did not know how long she was out, but they were still in the boat when she blinked, the blanket shielding her. And this time, without daring to think, the Sicilian would have known it somehow. She threw the blanket aside and dove deep into the Florin Channel. She stayed under for as long as she dared and then surfaced, starting to swim across the moonless water with every ounce of strength remaining to her. Behind her in the darkness, there were cries. Go in! Go in! From the Sicilian. I only dog paddle, from the Turk. You're better than I am, from the Spaniard. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Buttercup continued to leave them behind her. Her arms ached from effort, but she gave them no rest. Her legs kicked and her heart pounded. I can hear her kicking, the Sicilian said. Veer left. Buttercup went into her breaststroke, silently swimming away. Where is she? Shrieked the Sicilian. The sharks will get her, don't worry, cautioned the Spaniard. Oh dear, I wish you hadn't mentioned that, thought Buttercup. Princess, the Sicilian called. Do you know what happens to sharks when they smell blood in the water? They go mad. There's no controlling their wilderness. They rip and shred and chew and devour. And I'm in a boat, princess. And there isn't any blood in the water now, so we're both quite safe, but there is a knife in my hand, my lady. And if you don't come back, I'll cut my arms and I'll cut my legs and I'll catch the blood in a cup and I'll fling it as far as I can. And sharks can smell blood in the water for miles and you won't be beautiful for long. Jesus. Buttercup hesitated, silently treading water. Around her now, although it was surely her imagination, she seemed to be hearing the swish of giant tails. Come back and come back now. There will be no other warning. Buttercup thought, if I come back, they'll kill me anyway, so what's the difference? The difference is... There he goes doing that again, thought Buttercup. He really is a mind reader. If you come back now, the Sicilian went on, I give you my word as a gentleman and assassin that you will die totally without pain. I assure you, you will get no such promise from the sharks. The fish sounds in the night were closer now. Buttercup began to tremble with fear. She was terribly ashamed of herself, but there it was. She only wished she could see for a minute, if there were really sharks and if he really would cut himself. The Sicilian winced out loud. He just cut his arm, lady, the Turk called out. He's catching the blood in a cup now. There must be a half-inch of blood on the bottom. The Sicilian winced again. He cut his leg this time, the Turk went on. The cup's getting full. I don't believe them, Buttercup thought. There are no sharks in the water. Oh! I blocked them too, so that was so fucking weird and random. Huh. What is happening on Twitch right now? Death dealer. Huh. I don't know why I just got a bunch of trolls just now. That was fucking random. Alright. Yeah, my twink death. That's so true. That's so funny. Oh my god. Okay. I feel better. I feel better now. Okay. So, then the sharks went mad. All around her, Buttercup could hear them beeping and screaming and thrashing their mighty tails. Nothing can save me, Buttercup realized. I'm a dead cookie. Fortunately, for all concerned, save the sharks, it was around this time that the moon came out. There she is, shouted the Sicilian. And like lightning, the Spaniard turned the boat, and as the boat drew close, the Turk reached out a giant arm. And then she was back in the safety of her murderers, while all around them, the sharks bumped each other in wild frustration. Keep her warm, the Spaniard said from the tiller, tossing his cloak to the Turk. Don't catch cold, the Turk said, wrapping Buttercup into the cloak's folds. It doesn't seem to matter all that much, she answered, seeing you're killing me at dawn. He'll do the actual work, the Turk said, indicating the Sicilian, who was wrapping cloth round his cuts. We'll just hold you. Hold your stupid tongue, the Sicilian commanded. The Turk immediately hushed. I don't think he's so stupid, Buttercup said, and I don't think you're so smart either with all your throwing blood in the water. That's not what I would call grade A thinking. It worked, didn't it? You're back, aren't you? The Sicilian crossed toward her. Once women are sufficiently frightened, they scream. But I didn't scream. The moon came out, answered Buttercup somewhat triumphantly. The Sicilian struck her. Enough of that, the Turk said then. The tiny humpback looked dead at the giant. The tiny humpback. Do you want to fight me? I don't think you do. No, sir, the Turk mumbled. No, but don't use force, please. Force is mine. Strike me if you feel the need. I won't care. The Sicilian returned to the other side of the boat. She would have screamed, he said. She was about to cry out. My plan was ideal, as all my plans are ideal. It was the moon's ill timing that robbed me of perfection. He scowled unforgivingly at the yellow wedge above them. Then he stared ahead. There, the Sicilian pointed. The cliffs of insanity. And there they were, rising straight and sheer from the water, 1,000 feet into the night. They provided the most direct route between Florin and Gilder, but no one ever used them, sailing instead the long way, many miles around. Not that the cliffs were impossible to scale. 2 men were known to have climbed them in the last century alone. Sail straight for the steepest part, the Sicilian commanded. The Spaniard said, I was. Buttercup did not understand. Going up the cliffs could hardly be done, she thought, and no one had ever mentioned secret passages through them. Yet here they were, sailing closer and closer to the mighty rocks, now surely less than a quarter mile away. For the first time, the Sicilian allowed himself a smile. All is well. I was afraid your little jaunt in the water was going to cost me too much time. I had allowed an hour of safety. There must still be 50 minutes of it left. We are miles ahead of anybody and safe. No one could be following us yet, the Spaniard asked. No one, the Sicilian assured him. It would be inconceivable. Absolutely inconceivable. Absolutely, totally, and in all other ways inconceivable, the Sicilian reassured him. Why do you ask? No reason, the Spaniard replied. It's only that I just happened to look back and something's there. Ha! They all whirled. Something was indeed there. Less than a mile behind them across the moonlight was another sailing boat, small, painted what looked like black, with a giant sail that billowed black in the night, and a single man at the tiller, a man in black. The Spaniard looked at the Sicilian. It must just be some local fisherman out for a pleasure cruise, alone at night through shark-infested waters. There's probably a more logical explanation, the Sicilian said, but since no one in Gilder could know yet what we've done, and no one in Florin could have gotten here so quickly, he's definitely not, however much it may look like it, following us. It is coincidence and nothing more. Yeah, it's probably Bob. He's gaining on us, the Turk said. That is also inconceivable, the Sicilian said. Before I stole this boat we're in, I made many inquiries as to what was the fastest ship on all of Florin Channel, and everyone agreed it was this one. You're right, the Turk agreed, staring back. He isn't gaining on us. He's just getting closer, that's all. It is the angle we're looking from, and nothing more, said the Sicilian. Buttercup could not take her eyes from the great black sail. Surely the 3 men she was with frightened her. But somehow, for reasons she could never begin to explain, the man in black frightened her more. All right, look sharp, the Sicilian said, then, just a drop of edginess in his voice. The cliffs of insanity were very close now. The Spaniard maneuvered the craft expertly, which was not easy, and the waves were rolling in towards the rocks now, and the spray was blinding. Buttercup shielded her eyes and put her head straight back, staring up into the darkness toward the top, which seemed shrouded and out of reach. Then, the humpback bounded forward, and as the ship reached the cliff face, he jumped up and suddenly there was a rope in his hand. Buttercup stared in silent astonishment. The rope, thick and strong, seemed to travel all the way up the cliffs. As she watched, the Sicilian pulled at the rope again and again, and it held firm. It was attached to something at the top. A giant rock, a towering tree, or something. Fast now, the Sicilian ordered. If he is following us, which of course is not within the realm of human experience, but if he is, we've got to reach the top and cut the rope off before he can climb up after us. Climb? Buttercup said. I would never be able to... Hush, the Sicilian ordered. Get ready, he ordered the Spaniard. Sink it, he ordered the Turk. And then everyone got busy. The Spaniard took a rope, tied Buttercup's hands and feet. The Turk raised a great leg and stomped down at the center of the boat, which gave way immediately and began to sink. Then the Turk went to the rope and took it in his hands. The Cliffs of Insanity are no El Capitan. Alex Honnold would finish that climb in an hour. That's so funny. Yeah, give me like 30 minutes. Load me, the Turk said. The Spaniard lifted Buttercup and draped her body around the Turk's shoulders. Then he tied himself to the Turk's waist. Then the Sicilian hopped, clung to the Turk's neck. All aboard, the Sicilian said. This was before trains, but the expression comes originally from carpenters loading lumber, and this was well after carpenters. With that, the Turk began to climb. It was at least 1,000 feet, and he was carrying the 3, but he was not worried. When it came to power, nothing worried him. When it came to reading, he got knots in the middle of his stomach. When it came to writing, he broke out in a cold sweat. And when addition was mentioned, or worse, long division, he always changed the subject right away. But strength had never been his enemy. He could take the kick of a horse on his chest and not fall backward. He could take a 100-pound flour sack between his legs and scissor it open without thinking. He had once held an elephant aloft using only the muscles in his back. Jesus. But his real might lay in his arms. He had never, not in 1,000 years, been armed to match Fezzik's. Oh, there had never, not in 1,000 years, been armed to match Fezzik's, for that was his name. The arms were not only gargantuan and totally obedient and surprisingly quick, but they were also, and this is why he never worried, tireless. If you gave him an axe and told him to chop down a forest, his legs might give out from having to support so much weight for so long, or the axe might shatter from the punishment of killing so many trees, but Fezzik's arms would be as fresh tomorrow as today. And so, even with the Sicilian on his neck and the princess around his shoulders and the Spaniard at his waist, Fezzik did not feel in the least bit put upon. He was actually quite happy, because it was only when he was requested to use his might that he felt he wasn't a bother to everybody. Up he climbed, arm over arm, 200 feet now above the water, 800 feet now to go. More than any of them, the Sicilian was afraid of heights. All of his nightmares, and they were never far from him when he slept, dealt with falling, so this terrifying ascension was most difficult for him. I have to pause because those trolls just joined the server because I dropped that server link, so now we need to ban them. Yep, exactly. Can you work on that for me really quick? Squonk, I'm so sorry. This is not chill. We're just getting like bombarded today with people doing fucked up shit, I guess. Open mod view. What the fuck? Why is it so impossible to use everything? Cool, so I can't do anything. I don't really understand why people are so shitty. Yeah, I need you to deal with that because like 5 people just freaking came in there and started doing some fucking stupid shit, obviously. Sorry, I'm just like so annoyed and tired with people being awful. Cool. I don't really understand like why people don't have anything better to do with their lives, honestly. Like, shit, I'm just reading. Just reading. I'm just a little guy. That's inconceivable. Yeah, right. You'd think, but people like have nothing better to do, you know? So let's see. Cool. Cool. Anyways. Okay. We're there. Oh, an ad actually is about to start, so I'm not going to read. I'll take a little dab, and then when it's done, we'll come back. I'll just run the ad. There we go. I'll run it so that way nobody misses out on reading, and take another dab for more annoying shit. All right. I think I need like one more. Just one more. I think I need to chill on dropping the Discord link and being so friendly until people show that they're like normal. It just sucks when okay, I also just blocked them too. So if it might not let you, like, it just might not even show them anymore because they're blocked, and so if they're blocked, they shouldn't be allowed to be a part of the same server or the servers that I own. Because I also got worried they were gonna like try to start adding me and like messaging me and shit, so I was like, I'm gonna block each one of these fucking users, so that might be why. Seems like it's a group of them that's just going around and like it's like 5 or 6 people that are like trying to troll bomb people's streams or something, which is sad. Like for them. You could be just like playing a normal game or something and having fun instead. Yeah, I'm literally wearing purple pants. Is that normal? Yeah, I mean, we don't. Normal is subjective, and we don't have to be normal. That's for sure. I like purple pants personally. Okay. One more Dabrowski. Thanks for being willing to read the ride today. Read the ride? Wow. Yeah, no, that's kind of exactly how it's going. How do. Oh my god. I'm losing it. Okay. Thanks for riding this ride with me today. And I don't know, like, why today decided to be such a fucking shit show in some ways, but it's just like that. That's so fun. That sounds like an awesome outfit. Cool. All right. Okay, yeah, I needed that. Roll bad. Alright. Up he climbed, arm over arm, 200 feet now above the water, 800 feet now to go. More than any of them, the Sicilian was afraid of heights. All of his nightmares, and they were never far from him when he slept, dealt with falling. So this terrifying ascension was most difficult for him. Perched as he was on the neck of a giant, or should have been the most difficult, but he would not allow it. From the beginning, when as a child he realized his humped body would never conquer worlds, he relied on his mind. He trained it, fought it, brought it to heel. So now, 300 feet in the night and rising higher, while he should have been trembling, he was not. Instead, he was thinking of the man in black. There was no way anyone could have been quick enough to follow them. And yet from some devil's world, that billowing black sail had appeared. How? How? The Sicilian flogged his mind to find an answer, but he found only failure. In wild frustration, he took a deep breath and, in spite of his terrible fears, he looked back down toward the dark water. The man in black was still there, sailing like lightning toward the cliffs. He could not have been more than a quarter mile from them now. Faster, the Sicilian commanded. I'm sorry, the Turk answered meekly. I thought I was going faster. Lazy, lazy, spurred the Sicilian. I'll never improve, the Turk answered. But his arms began to move faster than before. I cannot see too well because your feet are locked around my face, he went on. So could you tell me, please, if we're halfway yet? A little over, I should think, said the Spaniard from his position around the giant's waist. You're doing wonderfully, Fezzik. Thank you, said the giant. And he's closing on the cliffs, added the Spaniard. No one had to ask who he was. Oh boy. 600 feet now. The arms continued to pull over and over. 620. 650. Now faster than ever. 700. He's left his boat behind, the Spaniard said. He's jumped onto our rope. He's starting up after us. I can feel him, Fezzik said, his body weight on the rope. He'll never catch up, the Sicilian cried. Inconceivable! You keep using that word, the Spaniard snapped. I don't think it means what you think it does. How fast is he at climbing? Fezzik said. I'm frightened. was the Spaniard's reply. Inconceivable! The Sicilian gathered his courage again and looked down. The man in black seemed almost to be flying. Already he had cut their lead 100 feet, perhaps more. I thought you were supposed to be so strong, the Sicilian shouted. I thought you were this great mighty thing, and yet he gains. I'm carrying 3 people, Fezzik explained. He is only himself and... Excuses are the refuge of cowards, the Sicilian interrupted. He looked down again. The man in black had gained another 100 feet. He looked up now. The cliff tops were beginning to come into view, perhaps 150 feet more, and they were safe. Tied hand and foot, sick with fear, Buttercup wasn't sure what she wanted to happen. Except this much she knew. She didn't want to go through anything like it again. Fly, Fezzik, the Sicilian screamed. 100 feet to go. Fezzik flew. He cleared his mind of everything but ropes and arms and fingers, and his arms pulled and his fingers gripped, and the rope and the rope held taut. And he's over halfway, the Spaniard said. Halfway to doom is where he is, the Sicilian said. We're 50 feet from safety, and once we're there and I untie the rope. He allowed himself to laugh. 40 feet. Fezzik pulled. 20. 10. It was over. Fezzik had done it. They had reached the top of the cliffs, and first the Sicilian jumped off, and then the Turk, and removed the princess, and as the Spaniard untied himself, he looked back over the cliffs. The man in black was no more than 300 feet away. It seems a shame, the Turk said, looking down alongside the Spaniard. Such a climber deserves better than... He stopped talking then. The Sicilian had untied the rope from its knots around the oak. The rope seemed to almost alive. The greatest of all water serpents heading at last for home. It whipped across the cliff tops, spiraled into the moonlit channel. The Sicilian was roaring now, and he kept at it until the Spaniard said, "He did it." "Did what?" The humpback came scurrying to the cliff edge. "Release the rope in time," the Spaniard said. "See?" He pointed down. The man in black was hanging in space, clinging to the sheer rock face, 700 feet above the water. The Sicilian watched, fascinated. "You know," he said, "since I've made a study of death and dying and am a great expert, it might interest you to know that he will be dead long before he hits the water. The fall will do it, not the crash." The man in black dangled helpless in space, clinging to the cliffs with both hands. "Oh, how rude we're being," the Sicilian said, turning to Buttercup. "I'm sure you'd like to watch." He went to her and brought her, still tied hand and foot, so that she could watch the final pathetic struggle of the man in black 300 feet below. Buttercup closed her eyes and turned away. "Shouldn't we be going?" the Spaniard asked. "I thought you were telling us how important time was." It is, the Sicilian nodded, "but I just can't miss a death like this. If I could stage one of these every week and sell tickets, I could get out of the assassination business entirely. Look at him. Do you think his life is passing before his eyes? That's what the books say." "He has very strong arms," Fezzik commented, "to hold on so long." "He can't hold on much longer," the Sicilian said. "He has to fall soon." It was at that moment that the man in black began to climb. Not quickly, of course, and not without great effort, but still, there was no doubt that he was, in spite of the sheerness of the cliffs, heading in an upward direction. "Inconceivable," the Sicilian cried. The Spaniard whirled on him. "Stop saying that word. It was inconceivable that anyone could follow us, but when we looked back, there was a man in black. It was inconceivable that anyone could sail as fast as we could, and yet he gained on us, and now this too is inconceivable, but look!" And the Spaniard pointed down through the night. "See how he rises." The man in black was, indeed, rising. Somehow, in some almost miraculous way. His fingers were finding holds in the crevices, and he was now perhaps 15 feet closer to the top, farther from death. The Sicilian advanced on the Spaniard now, his wild eyes glittering at the insubordination. I have the keenest mind that has ever been turned to unlawful pursuits, he began. So when I tell you something, it is not guesswork, it is fact. And the fact is, the man in black is not following us. A more logical explanation would be that he is simply an ordinary sailor who dabbles in mountain climbing as a hobby, who happens to have the same general final destination as we do. That certainly satisfies me, and I hope it satisfies you. In any case, we cannot take the risk of his seeing us with the princess, and therefore one of you must kill him. Shall I do it? The Turk wondered. The Sicilian shook his head. No, Fezzik, he said finally. I need your strength to carry the girl. Pick her up now and let us hurry along. He turned to the Spaniard. We'll be heading directly for the frontier of Gelder. Catch up as quickly as you can once he's dead. The Spaniard nodded. The Sicilian hobbled away. The Turk hoisted the princess, began following the humpback. Just before he lost sight of the Spaniard, he turned and hollered, Catch up quickly! Don't I always? The Spaniard waved. Farewell, Fezzik. Farewell, Inigo. The Turk replied, and then he was gone, and the Spaniard was alone. Inigo moved to the cliff edge and knelt with his customary quick grace. 250 feet below him now, the man in black continued his painful climb. Inigo lay flat, staring down, trying to pierce the moonlight and find the climber's secret. For a long while, Inigo did not move. He was a good learner, but not a particularly fast one, so he had to study. Finally, he realized that somehow, by some mystery, the man in black was making fists and jamming them into the rocks and using them for support. Then he would reach up with his other hand until he found a high split in the rock and make another fist and jam it in. Whenever he could find support for his feet, he would use it, but mostly it was the jam fists that made the climbing possible. Inigo marveled. What a truly extraordinary adventurer this man in black must be. He was close enough now for Inigo to realize that the man was masked, a black hood covering all but his features. Another outlaw, perhaps. Then why should they have to fight, and for what? Inigo shook his head. It was a shame that such a fellow must die, but he had his orders, so there it was. Sometimes he did not like the Sicilian's commands, but what could he do? Without the brains of the Sicilian, he, Inigo, would never be able to command jobs of this caliber. The Sicilian was a master planner. Inigo was a creature of the moment. The Sicilian said, kill him. So why waste sympathy on the man in black? Someday someone would kill Inigo, and the world would not stop to mourn. It's pronounced like Inigo. I'm struggling. I'm like, what? How do you say this name, man? He stood now, quickly jumping to his feet, his blade-thin body ready for action. Only the man in black was still many feet away. There was nothing to do but wait for him. Inigo hated waiting. So to make the time more pleasant, he pulled from the scabbard his only love, the six-fingered sword. How it danced in the moonlight. How glorious and true. Inigo brought it to his lips, and with all the fervor in his great Spanish heart, kissed the metal. Oh. So I think now we're about to get a little Inigo. Okay. Cool. Then I will say it from like that from here on out. I thought because he was Spanish, maybe there was going to be a little bit of something different on his name. Inigo. Okay. That's a hard one, honestly. Good describers on that, because it's a hard name to describe. Or like sound out like that, you know? Okay. In the mountains of central Spain, set high in the hills above Toledo, was the village of Arabella. It was very small and the air was always clear. That was all you could say that was good about Arabella. Terrific air. You could see for miles. But there was no work. The dogs overran the streets and there was never enough food. Excuse me. The air, clear enough, was also too hot in daylight, freezing at night. As to... I have to look. Inigo. Okay. As to Inigo's personal life, he was always just a trifle hungry. He had no brothers or sisters, and his mother had died in childbirth. He was fantastically happy. Because of his father, Domingo Montoya was funny-looking and crotchety and impatient and absent-minded and never smiled. Inigo loved him. Totally. Don't ask why. There really wasn't any one reason you could put your finger on. Oh, probably Domingo loved him back, but love is many things, none of them logical. Domingo Montoya made swords. If you wanted a fabulous sword, did you go to Domingo Montoya? If you wanted a great balanced piece of work, did you go to the mountains behind Toledo? If you wanted a masterpiece, a sword for the ages, was it Arabella that your footsteps led you to? Nope. You went to Madrid, because Madrid was where lived the famous Yeste, and if you had the money and he had the time, you got your weapon. Yeste was fat and jovial and one of the richest and most honored men in the city. And he should have been. He made wonderful swords, and noblemen bragged to each other when they owned an original Yeste. Toledo, that's not far from here. I know. For real. But sometimes, not often, mind you, maybe once a year, maybe less, a request would come in for a weapon that was more than even Yeste could make. When that happened, did Yeste say, "Alas, I am sorry, I cannot do it"? Nope. What he said was, "Of course, I'd be delighted. 50% down payment, please. The rest before delivery. Come back in a year, thank you very much." The next day, he would set out for the hills behind Toledo. Is it Toledo or is it Toledo? "So, Domingo," Yeste would call out when he reached Inigo's father's hut. "So, Yeste," Domingo Montoya would return from the hut doorway. When the two men would embrace, Inigo would come running up and Yeste would rumple his hair, and then Inigo would make tea while the two men talked. This is a lot of names to remember. Hi, Gingy! Welcome in! Thanks for being here. Okay. "I need you," Yeste would always begin. Domingo would grunt. "This very week I have accepted a commission to make a sword for a member of the Italian nobility. It is to be jewel encrusted at the handle, and the jewels are to spell out the name of his present mistress and no." That single word and that alone, but it was enough. When Domingo Montoya said no, it meant nothing else but. Inigo, busy with the tea, knew what would happen now. Yeste would use his charm. No. Yeste would use his wealth. No. His wit, his wonderful gift for persuasion. No. He would beg, entreat, promise, pledge. No. Insults, threats. No. Finally, genuine tears. No. More tea, Yeste. Perhaps another cup, thank you. Then big, "Why won't you?" Inigo hurried to refill their cups so as never to miss a word. He knew they had been brought up together, had known each other 60 years, had never not loved one another deeply, and it thrilled him when he could hear them arguing. That was the strange thing. Arguing was all they ever did. Oh my god. Why? My fat friend asks me why. He sits there on his world-class ass and has the nerve to ask me why. Yeste, come to me sometime with the challenge. Once, just once, ride up and say, Domingo, I need a sword for an 80-year-old man to fight a duel. And I would embrace you and cry, yes! Because to make a sword for an 80-year-old man to survive a duel, that would be something. Because the sword would have to be strong enough to win, yet light enough to not tire his weary arm. I would have to use my all to perhaps find an unknown metal, strong but very light, or devise a different formula for a known one. Mix some bronze with some iron and some air in a way ignored for 1,000 years. I would kiss your smelly feet for an opportunity like that, fat Yeste. But to make a stupid sword with stupid jewels in the form of stupid initials so some stupid Italian can throw his stupid mistress, no, that I will not do. For the last time, I ask you, please. That was so interesting. For the last time, I tell you, I am sorry. No. I gave you my word the sword would be made. Or I gave my word the sword would be made, Yeste said. I cannot make it. In all the world, no one can but you, and you say no. Which means I have gone back on a commitment. Which means I have lost my honor. Which means that since honor is the only thing in the world I care about, and since I cannot live without it, I must die. And since you are my dearest friend, I may as well die now. This is so fucking dramatic. With you, basking in the warmth of your affection. And here Yeste would pull out a knife. It was a magnificent thing. A gift from Domingo on Yeste's wedding day. Goodbye, little Inigo, Yeste would say then. God grant you your quota of smiles. It was forbidden for Inigo to interrupt. Goodbye, little Domingo, Yeste would say then. Although I die in your hut, and although it is your own stubborn fault that causes my ceasing, in other words, even though you are killing me, don't think twice about it. I love you as I always have, and God forbid your conscience should give you any trouble. He pulled open his coat, brought the knife closer. The pain is worse than I imagined, Yeste cried. How can it hurt when the point of the weapon is still an inch from your belly? Domingo asked. I'm anticipating. Don't bother me. Let me die unpestered. He brought the point to his skin. Pushed. Domingo grabbed the knife away. Someday I won't stop you, he said. Inigo, set an extra place for supper. I was all set to kill myself, truly. Enough dramatics. What is on the menu for the evening? The usual gruel. Inigo, go check and see if there's anything by chance in my carriage outside. There was always a feast waiting in the carriage. And after the food and the stories would come the departure, and always before the departure would come the request. We would be partners, Yeste would say, in Madrid. My name before yours on the sign, of course, but equal partners in all things. No. All right. Your name before mine. You are the greatest sword maker. You deserve to come first. Have a good trip back. Why won't you? Because, my friend Yeste, you are very famous and very rich, and so you should be, because you make wonderful weapons. But you must also make them for any fool who happens along. I am poor, and no one knows me in all the world except you and Inigo, and I do not have to suffer fools. You are an artist, Yeste said. No, not yet, a craftsman only, but I dream to be an artist. I pray that someday, if I work with enough care, if I am very, very lucky, I will make a weapon that is a work of art. Call me an artist then, and I will answer. Yeste entered his carriage. Domingo approached the window, whispered, I remind you only of this. When you get this jeweled initialed sword, claim it as your own. Tell no one of my involvement. Hi, Turtle! Cool, thank you, Squonk. I appreciate you so much. That was so weird. Welcome in, Turtles! I'm so glad you're here. And Gingy, thank you for stopping through too. I hope you're doing well. I hope your husband's doing well. And that y'all are chilling. We had some weird trolls earlier today, and they were doing all the things. So we're happy to have you here. I might go a little extra overtime today too because I was late to start reading. So I might go to like 4:15 or something like that. So, but thank you, Squonk. Sorry for how much chaos there was. Man. Okay. Yesterday entered his carriage. Domingo approached the window, whispered, "I remind you only of this. When you get this jeweled initialed sword, claim it as your own. Tell no one of my involvement. Your secret is safe with me." Embraces and waves. The carriage would leave, and that was the way of life before the six-fingered sword. Inigo remembered exactly the moment it began. He was making lunch for them. His father always, from the time he was 6, let him do the cooking, when a heavy knocking came on the hut door. "Inside there," a voice boomed. "Be quick about it." Inigo's father opened the door. "Your servant," he said. "You are a sword maker," came the booming voice, "of distinction. I've heard that this is true." "If only it were," Domingo replied, "but I have no great skills. Mostly I do repair work. Perhaps if you had a dagger blade that was dulling, I might be able to please you, but anything more is beyond me." Inigo crept up behind his father and peeked out. The booming voice belonged to a powerful man with dark hair and broad shoulders who sat upon an elegant brown horse. A nobleman, clearly, but Inigo could not tell the country. "I desire to have made for me the greatest sword since Excalibur." "I hope your wishes are granted," Domingo said. "And now, if you please, our lunch is almost ready." Yeah, I really need to drink some water, you're right. Thank you. Thank you for redeeming the hydrate. I appreciate it. I've been reading for a bit. Okay. "And now, if you please, our lunch is almost ready, and I do not give you permission to move. You stay right exactly where you are or risk my wrath, which, I must tell you in advance, is considerable. My temper is murderous. Now, what were you saying about your lunch?" "I was saying that it will be hours before it is ready. I have nothing to do and would not dream of budging." "There are rumors," the nobleman said, "that deep in the hills behind Toledo lives a genius, the greatest sword maker in all the world. He visits here sometimes. That must be your mistake. But his name is Yeste and he lives in Madrid." "I will pay 500 pieces of gold for my desires," said the big-shouldered noble. "That is more money than all the men in all this village will earn in all their lives," said Domingo. "Truly, I would love to accept your offer, but I am not the man you seek. These rumors lead me to believe that Domingo Montoya would solve my problem." "What is your problem?" "I am a great swordsman, but I cannot find a weapon to match my peculiarities, and therefore I am deprived of reaching my highest skills. If I had a weapon to match my peculiarities, there would be no one in all the world to equal me. What are these peculiarities you speak of?" The noble held up his right hand. Domingo began to grow excited. The man had 6 fingers. "You see," the noble began. "Of course," Domingo interrupted. "The balance of the sword is wrong for you because every balance has been conceived of for 5. The grip of every handle cramps you because it has been built for 5. For an ordinary swordsman it would not matter, but a great swordsman, a master, would have eventual discomfort. And the greatest swordsman in the world must always be at ease. The grip of his weapon must be as natural as the blink of his eye, and cause him no more thought. Clearly you understand the difficulties, the nobleman began again. But Domingo had traveled where others' words could never reach him. Inigo had never seen his father so frenzied. The measurements, of course, each finger and the circumference of the wrist, and the distance from the sixth nail to the index pad, so many measurements, and your preferences. Do you prefer to slash or cut? If you slash, do you prefer the right to the left movement or perhaps the parallel? When you cut, do you enjoy an upward thrust? And how much power do you wish to come from the shoulder? How much from the wrist? And do you wish your point coated so as to enter more easily, or do you enjoy seeing the opponents wince? So much to be done, so much to be done. And on he went until the noble dismounted and had to almost take him by the shoulders to quiet him. You are the man of the rumors. Domingo nodded. Oh, we're reading the book, The Princess Bride. And we are on chapter 5, I think. But yeah, this is our book club. So we're reading The Princess Bride right now. And you will make me the greatest sword since Excalibur. I will beat my body into ruins for you. Perhaps I will fail, but no one will try harder. And payment. When you get the sword, then payment. Now let me get to work measuring. Inigo, my instruments. Inigo scurried into the darkest corner of the hut. I insist on leaving something on account. It is not necessary. I may fail. I insist. All right. 1 gold piece. Leave that. But do not bother me with money when there is work that needs beginning. The noble took out 1 piece of gold. Domingo put it in a drawer and left it without even a glance. Feel your fingers now, he commanded. Rub your hands hard, shake your fingers. You will be excited when you duel, and this handle must match your hand in that excitement. If I measured when you were relaxed, there would be a difference, as much as 1,000th of an inch, and that would rob us of perfection. And that is what I seek, perfection. I will not rest for less. The nobleman had to smile. And how long will it take to reach it? Come back in a year, Domingo said. And with that he set to work. Such a year. Domingo slept only when he dropped from exhaustion. He ate only when Inigo would force him to. He studied, fretted, complained. He never should have taken the job. It was impossible. The next day he would be flying. He never should have taken the job. It was too simple to be worth his labors. Joy to despair, day to day, hour to hour. Sometimes Inigo would wake to find him weeping. What is it, father? It is that I cannot do it. I cannot make the sword. I cannot make my hands obey me. I would kill myself, except what would you do then? Go to sleep, father. No, I don't need sleep. Failures don't need sleep. Anyway, I slept yesterday. Please, father, a little nap. All right, a few minutes to keep you from nagging. Some nights Inigo would wake to see him dancing. What is it, father? It is that I have found my mistakes, corrected my misjudgments. Then it will be done soon, father. It will be done tomorrow, and it will be a miracle. You are wonderful, father. I'm more wonderful than wonderful. How dare you insult me? Chapter 5 already? That's inconceivable! But the next night, more tears. What is it now, father? The sword. The sword. I cannot make the sword. But last night, father, you said you had found your mistakes. I was mistaken. Tonight I found new ones, worse ones. I am the most wretched of creatures. Say you wouldn't mind if I killed myself so I could end this existence. Oh my god. It's terrible. But I would mind, Father. I love you and I would die if you stopped breathing. You don't really love me, you're only speaking pity. Who could pity the greatest sword maker in the history of the world? Thank you, Inigo. You're welcome, Father. I love you back, Inigo. Sleep, Father. Yes, sleep. A whole year of that. A year of the handle being right but the balance being wrong. Of the balance being right but the cutting edge too dull. Of the cutting edge sharpened but that threw the balance off again. Of the balance returning but now the point was fat. Of the point regaining sharpness but only now the entire blade was too short and it all had to go. All had to be thrown out. All had to be done again. 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 Domingo's health began to leave him. He was fevered always now, but he forced his frail shell on because this had to be the finest since Excalibur. Domingo was battling legend, and it was destroying him. Such a year. One night, Inigo woke to find his father seated, staring, calm. Inigo followed the stare. The six-fingered sword was done. Even in the hut's darkness, it glistened. At last, Domingo whispered. He could not take his eyes from the glory of the sword. After a lifetime, Inigo, I am an artist. The big-shouldered nobleman did not agree. When he returned to purchase the sword, he merely looked at it a moment. Not worth waiting for, he said. Inigo stood in the corner of the hut, watching, holding his breath. You are disappointed. Domingo could scarcely get the words spoken. I'm not saying it's trash, you understand, the nobleman went on, but it's certainly not 500 pieces of gold. I'll give you 10. It's probably worth that. Wrong, Domingo cried. It is not worth 10. It is not worth even 1. Here. He threw open the drawer where the 1 gold piece had laid, untouched the year. The gold is yours. All of it. You've lost nothing. He took back the sword and turned away. I'll take the sword, the nobleman said. I didn't say I wouldn't take it. I only said I would pay what it was worth. Domingo whirled back, eyes bright. You quibbled. You haggled. Art was involved and you saw only money. Beauty was here for the taking and you saw only your fat purse. You've lost nothing. There is no more reason for your remaining here. Please go. The sword, the noble said. The sword belongs to my son, Domingo said. I give it to him now. It is forever his. Goodbye. You're a peasant and a fool, and I want my sword. You're an enemy of art, and I pity your ignorance, Domingo said. That's a solid line, dude. They were the last words he ever uttered. The noble killed him then, with no warning. A flash of the nobleman's sword and Domingo's heart was torn to pieces. Inigo screamed. He could not believe it. It had not happened. He screamed again. His father was fine. Soon they would have tea. He could not stop screaming. The village heard. 20 men were at the door. The nobleman pushed his way through them. The man attacked me. See? He holds a sword. He attacked me and I defended myself. Now move from my way. It was lies, of course, and everyone knew it. But he was a noble, so what was there to do? They parted, and the nobleman mounted his horse. Coward! The nobleman whirled. Pig! Again the crowd parted. Inigo stood there, holding the six-fingered sword, repeating his words. Coward, pig, killer. Someone tend the babe before he oversteps himself, the noble said to the crowd. Inigo ran forward then, standing in front of the nobleman's horse, blocking the nobleman's path. He raised the six-fingered sword with both hands and cried, I, Inigo Montoya, do challenge you, coward, pig, killer, ass, fool, to battle. Get him out of my way. Move the infant. The infant is 10 and he stays, Inigo said. Enough of your family is dead for one day. Be content, said the noble. When you beg me for your breath, then I shall be contented. Now dismount. The nobleman dismounted. Draw your sword. The nobleman unsheathed his killing weapon. I dedicate your death to my father, Inigo said. Begin. They began. It was no match, of course. Inigo was disarmed in less than a minute. But for the 15 seconds or so, the noble was uneasy. During those 15 seconds, strange thoughts crossed his mind, for even at the age of 10, Inigo's genius was there. Disarmed, Inigo stood very straight. He said not a word, begged nothing. I'm not going to kill you, the nobleman said, because you have talent and you're brave. But you're also lacking in manners, and that's going to let you in trouble if you're not careful. So I shall help you as you go through life by leaving you with a reminder that bad manners are to be avoided. And with that, his blade flashed 2 times. And Inigo's face began to bleed. 2 rivers of blood poured from his forehead to his chin, one crossing each cheek. Everyone watching knew it then. The boy was scarred for life. Inigo would not fall. The world went white behind his eyes, but he would not go to the ground. The blood continued to pour. The nobleman replaced his sword, remounted, and rode on. It was only then that Inigo allowed the darkness to claim him. He awoke to Yeste's face. I was beaten, Inigo whispered. I failed him. Yeste could only say, sleep. Oh! Thank you so much for the follow, Kenji. Really appreciate that. Okay. And hopefully that means that we met our goal of 160. That's really awesome. Thank you so much. Inigo slept. The bleeding stopped after a day, and the pain stopped after a week. They buried Domingo, and for the first and last time, Inigo left Arabella. His face bandaged, he rode in Yeste's carriage to Madrid, where he lived in Yeste's house, obeyed Yeste's commands. After a month, the bandages were removed, but the scars were still deep red. Eventually, they softened some, but they always remained the chief feature of Inigo's face. The giant parallel scars running one on each side from temple to chin. For 2 years, Yeste cared for him. We're reading The Princess Bride for our February special. Oh, and there's going to be an ad break, so I'll actually stop reading so that you guys don't miss out on that, and we'll just take a short break. And I think I'll use that actually as a good opportunity just to take a break for myself to take my headphones off, just because they're squeezing my head a little bit. So I'm going to do a little BRB and use bathroom and stuff. Thank you again, Kenji. Really appreciate your follow. Welcome in. We do book club on Mondays and Fridays. Be right back. Sorry, that was literally me laughing out loud as I came back to see the Y'all Mind If I Play GeoGuessr. That's so funny. Go ahead, bro. Go ahead. Hey, go ahead. Do whatever you want. Hey, go ahead. In an hour, because I'm gonna I have to stop at least by 4:20 so that I get some buffer time before setting up for our movie night that's gonna be happening tonight in Discord. If you guys want to join us, we are gonna be watching The Parent Trap. I'm excited. I love this movie so much, and I think it's kind of perfect. You know, it has the hijinks, the fun, the comedy, the romantic comedy, all of the good stuff. So we'll be doing that in Discord, and everyone's welcome. The Lindsay Lohan version. I'm sorry, not the OG. I grew up with the Lindsay Lohan version, so of course I want to watch that one. I don't know if I've ever actually seen the original, and I feel like I need to see the original to, like, educate myself. I've only ever seen this version. Well, we're going to be watching it in Discord at 5, so. All right, let's grind through a little more. Okay. Then one morning, Inigo was gone. In his place were 3 words. I must learn, on a note pinned to his pillow. Learn? Learn what? What existed beyond Madrid that the child had to commit to memory? Yeste shrugged and sighed. It was beyond him. There was no understanding children anymore. Everything was changing too fast, and the young were different. Beyond him, life was beyond him. The world was beyond him. You name it, it was beyond him. He was a fat man who made swords. That much he knew. So he made more swords, and he grew fatter, and the years went by. As his figure spread, so did his fame. From all across the world they came, begging him for weapons, so he doubled his prices because he didn't want to work too hard anymore. He was getting old, but when he doubled his prices, when the news spread from duke to prince to king, they only wanted him the more desperately. Now the wait was 2 years for a sword, and the lineup of royalty was unending, and Yeste was growing tired, so he doubled his prices again. And when that didn't stop them, he decided to triple his already doubled and redoubled prices. And besides that, all work had to be paid for in jewels in advance. And the wait was up to 3 years, but nothing would stop them. They had to have swords by Yeste or nothing. And even though the work on the finest was nowhere what it once was, Domingo, after all, no longer could save him. The silly rich men didn't notice. All they wanted was his weapons, and they fell over each other with jewels for him. Yeste grew very rich and very heavy. Every part of his body sagged. He had the only fat thumbs in Madrid. Dressing took an hour, breakfast the same, everything went slowly. Jesus, this is like icky. Not loving this. He could still make swords, and people still craved them. I'm sorry, he said to the young Spaniard who entered his shop one particular morning. The wait is up to 4 years, and even I am embarrassed to mention the price. Have your weapon made by another. I have my weapon, the Spaniard said, and he threw the 6-fingered sword across Yeste's workbench. Such embraces. Never leave again, Yeste said. I eat too much when I'm lonely. I cannot stay, Inigo told him. I'm only here to ask you one question. As you know, I have spent the last 10 years learning. Now I've come for you to tell me if I'm ready. Ready for what? What in the world have you been learning? The sword. Madness, said Yeste. You've spent 10 entire years just learning to fence. No, not just learning to fence, Inigo answered. I did many other things as well. Tell me. Well, Inigo began, 10 years is what? About 3,600 days. And that's about, I figured this out once, so I remember pretty well, about 86,000 hours. Wow. Not the burp and needing to clear my throat at the same time. Wow. You guys, we really made it to 160, by the way. Sorry for the, not so, reaction because of those trolls earlier today. I wasn't sure if it was, more trolls or if it was somebody who was actually a legit viewer. So I didn't want to get my hopes up too quickly about it. You know what I mean? So thank you again to new followers today who came by and are here now. We're happy to have you here. Okay. So, well, I made it a point to get 4 hours sleep per night. That's 14,000 hours right there, leaving me perhaps 72,000 hours to account for. You slept. I'm with you. What else? Well, I squeezed rocks. I'm sorry, my hearing sometimes fails me. It sounded like you said you squeezed rocks. To make my wrists strong, so I could control the sword. Rocks like apples, that size. I would squeeze them in each hand for perhaps 2 hours a day. And I would spend another 2 hours a day in skipping and dodging and moving quickly so that my feet would be able to get me into position to deliver properly the thrust of the sword. That's another 14,000 hours. I'm down to 58,000 now. Well, I always sprinted 2 hours each day as fast as I could, so my legs, as well as being quick, would also be strong. And that... oh my god. And that gets me down to about 50,000 hours. Oh, thank you so much for following for so long. Give a little suck. Everybody get a little suck. Hold on. Here it is. Here's a little suck. I think you only get one as a tier 1 emoji. People are giving me sus vibes today. I literally can't even trust that people that are new followers are just being quote unquote nice, or if they're more of the same people that were trolling from earlier, continuing to troll. So that's why I just gave you guys timeout. You're just spamming a lot. And yeah, saying a lot of weird shit. So not really sure why I'm getting so many trolls today. Oh, you binged them? That's cool. Well, I'm glad that you got to catch up and check out stuff on YouTube. Yeah, this will be up on YouTube tonight, and we will be doing, movie night too. So, Turtles, if you're gonna join in for that, that'll be a lot of fun. We're gonna watch The Parent Trap, get your Oreos and your peanut butter ready for some fun. And, yeah. Well, I'm gonna go get ready for go get ready for movie night. I'll try to get the schedule out either tonight too or tomorrow for next week. So we will do that. Watch time is movie night. 5 o'clock, so just in 40 minutes. So just an hour from now. So yeah. Thank you so much, Gingy, for being here. Thank you for Turtles coming back through. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you guys a lot. Appreciate the good vibes with even though there's been some weird vibes today. Yeah, if you're a part of the server already, we try to send notifications to let people know 30 minutes before movie night and everything. So it'll be all happening in there. Okay, guys. Have a good rest of your night, and I'll see you next week. Yeah, people be nice to each other today. Send out love.